So the order for delivery, yada, yada, yada. These guys both disappear very unceremoniously. Then this one will have the action, so when you tap on this, all the business happens. Actually, I shouldn't delete that yet, because I want to use this for placement. So I'm going to superimpose the order for delivery asset over the top of the other order for delivery asset. Make sure they're lined up perfectly. So it looks like it's actually being placed there. So the way I do this is I knock back the opacity so I can see what's in the background there, and I just put it into place. It doesn't look like it's perfect. What do we have? What's wrong here? So rounding error. Oh, X is at 0.5. So we have a 0.5 error. There we go. So the type looks slightly different too, but I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. Scale is fine. Opacity. Alright, so I knock this. Boom. Turns to 100. Boom, like that. So close enough for government work. This is fine. Alright, let's come back out here. Right. So I'm going to nix this guy, scooch this out, and nix the one behind it. And there you go. And then this is going to animate to the side. And it's going to animate to that spot that's being hidden behind this content here. So what's going to happen is I'm going to take this fader, I'm going to knock it back just enough that I can see that content, and I'm going to scooch this whole shape down here so that, again, the only thing you see that happens is while it animates is all the messages slide down into place, right? So what's going to happen is this blue, in this case, what's that, pops over to the side, it moves into the position that it needs to be in, and the messages above slide down so that the spacing is correct between them all. And then once the animation for this is done, that element disappears, taken away, and then it moves back to the previous template version, and the template version animates up. So that's what we're going to do now. Back to here, right? So it's going to move from here to wherever that finished point is supposed to be. I'm going to figure out where that finished point is supposed to be right now. So we're going to make it 10 pixels like that. So it's going to animate from here. It's going to get big. It's going to go down to there. Yeah, I think that's why it's not going to work here on the growing animation I was talking about earlier. The prototype has it not just move to the side and snap into position with the spring, but also if you watch the size of this, it also grows. So it has the scale attached to a spring as well. That's not something that we're going to be able to do with Principle, because Principle lets you set a target for your animation and then have a animation curve against that target. What's different about this one is it starts small, it goes to a larger target, and then goes to a smaller target. So there's effectively two animation targets during one transition, which Principle won't let us do. But like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to likely go and follow up afterward and replace this graphic for this animation with a video, just taking that one asset, growing and shrinking, and then moving that video on the spring. That way we can effectively trick it into giving us two animations at the same transition. I'm going to pause to get some water. I've been talking for quite an hour now, so I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. So let's see here. If we were to back up to here, this would be on a click of that, and move to the next one. Right. So I think I need to do two things here. I think I need to duplicate this artboard here, because what I want to have happen is when you click on this, It immediately snaps you to this next artboard where this Y position 220, this will be at 220 as well, 220, like that. Again, we're going to deal with this fade out in a second here. But I want to, now for the sake of conversation, right? So we go from order for delivery, you touch it, boom, pops into this state, and then it animates over to the side while this, I'm pointing again, while these messages template slides down from where it is above down to this state. You ultimately see it in this end state. So I think the next step here is to superimpose that where it needs to be. To here. The borders here on Pixate, I'm sorry, in Principle, are a bit difficult to tell if they're not aligned properly. Oh, that's annoying too. Look at this. So when we clicked and dragged it, we centered it, but now it has a line of a 0.5. I don't think that's accurate. So 5 times 2, 375. Oh, that is accurate. Okay. That is what we want. So we want this to be on 0.5 as well. Subpixels, hooray. That's not right. Look at that. It's not snapping right on this edge here. As we push the pixels. Okay, so the X needs, rather the Y needs a 0.5. Order for delivery sitting there, order for delivery sitting here. So when we tap on this memo jam, I'm going to select the one we want to click or tap, choose tap, drag over to here. Then this will start the animation of moving up to there. All right, so what this looks like is for delivery, right? That appears, and then there's an auto animation that's going to spring it over to the side. So for this artboard, we have the auto animation, auto, move there, and we're going to have it move with the spring. So I select the auto, and I'm going to say, what is this one? Blue for delivery, the X and the Y. I think it's the X. I care more about the spring. I'm wrong about that. I want the spring to feel the same. So this spring was 381 to keep the same. Spring. Oh, 700. 700 is what we want. Right, so come back to this guy. Is it 700 on the nose? I've already forgotten. Let's get into that hour, folks. Good idea. 700.47, yeah, because you're going to notice that. All right. Mr. Complete, let's say 0.47. All right, so you tap on that, it bounces aside. It's a bit too much. I think we're better off with the default. Spring, the default is this number, so I copied that. Bring it over here. All right, we go back a step. Right now this is being interfered with the fade. We're not this B0% opacity again. So go back to here. You should see order for delivery. Right? You're starting to see this in the background. You get the weird doubling up effect right now because the opacity is not behaving. Right? But you see how it bounces to the side, somewhat like we wanted it to be. I'm going to massage that a little bit more. So order out for delivery. So this guy is at 0. Oh, I had it at 0. I wanted it to be 100. That's the problem. Let's see, 100. There we go. So I can come back to here. Order for delivery. Pops over. That feels about right. I'm about to start here. I like to place an order. Right, slide prototype. Nothing's going to advance until I mash. Pops aside. It's a little bit slower. I want to improve the speed there. So you see when I mash it here, it moves a little bit faster. I'm not sure if that's this animation speed or if it's the spring animation speed. I'll play with that as time goes on. What's important here is to get the pieces in place first and then massage it after the fact. I think I might might not want an X spring. I might just want the default like that. I have to go double check again what it was I built before. Oh, I definitely want a spring there. So put a spring back. Okay. So, sure. This is to the side, and then the next content would appear. So I think what's making it feel slow for me is that I'm used to seeing the animation go over and then the next content show up immediately. We don't have the next step in there yet, so let's pull them out. Okay, so we got this artboard here, which will have an auto advance to the next one. Right. So order for delivery, and then back comes their message. So take the whole template group with the faders. Oh, I can delete this now. I can delete this, not delete, but hide the opacity on this guy. Now what I'm going to have to do is make sure that the opacity, I'll move this back into position, now we see what the problem would be. If I come back to here for delivery, then it fades white, and then back to transparent. Is that the animation timing is using the default, which normally is fine, but we don't want the opacity to do this slow animation. We want it to be instantaneous, so I'm just going to drag it like that. So the timing is 0, so it should be immediate. So you should see no difference. You shouldn't see that ghost effect now, right? So when it popped from this asset being on top to that asset being gone and now being the template version, it's seamless to you, the viewer. It's pretty great. So when that's gone, now we can animate this content up and then fade this guy out. Again, the effect is that the message sort of fades in as it animates up. Boom, like that. All right, so I come back to here, and what should happen again is it should zip over to the side. It should swap out the asset with the template version immediately, so it should be seamless. And then the moment it does that, it should slide up with this new content. So let's test that theory. I'm going to go back another step here. Order for delivery, I go mash, boom, beautiful. Oh, feels so good. This is where we save, and then we make a copy. So I like to iterate by making a copy. Command Shift S, and then giving it a name and increment the number 01, 02, 03. Once I hit a point where I know things are working, right? So I got to the point where I got an animation up to a point where I feel like this is good, and if I were to do anything now that would potentially end up breaking, I have a good fallback point. So there we go. I'll make this bigger again. Right. All about creating safe falls for yourself. Protect yourself from yourself. You want to be able to explore new ideas and different directions, and anything you can do to make yourself a safer exploration environment is going to be a good thing. All right. So again, one more time. Where are we? I like to place an order. Sure thing. Is this for delivery or pickup? Order for delivery. Order for pickup. I say order for delivery. Bounce over the side. Bingo. Oh, rewind it there again. I always forget in principle, if you move your mouse outside of the preview window, it won't do an auto animation. So from time to time, I'll be watching an animation and I'll move my cursor out of the window to see it better, and then the animation will stop. Don't think what I break. Order for delivery. Then bingo, next content pops up. Perfect. What would you like? After it gets to that point, it pauses for a second, and then it slides up with the, pop back to sketch for a second, pops up with the perfect, what would you like, and then it gives enough room for the view menu button to appear there. So, let's make that now. Perfect, what would you like? Take this artboard, duplicate the crap out of it, scooch it up a bit, doesn't matter how far, because we're going to snudge it down once we've got the new asset in place. We have a button, view menu, drop it in place, scale, center that up. So we get 2 center points. That always bothers me. We're just going to use the range there, line, horizontal centers. Again, if I was doing a lot of this in the project, I would just assign this to have a keyboard shortcut and system preferences to be able to do these keyboard shortcuts or to do these menu commands. But as it stands, I'm not, so I'm not too worried about it. Again, the XY coordinate system here in principle makes no sense to me. There's a coordinate of x coordinate of 69. I have no idea where that's coming from because if we zoom back out here, this is certainly more than 69 pixels away on the x. And it looks like the main artboard was centering against the middle with, what do I call the x here? Negative 188. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, view menu. So I'm going to scooch this guy down and make it 20 pixels bump. I'm going to do the same thing with this here. I'm going to snooch it such that bump. We got 20 pixels top and bottom. So that should look exactly like this guy here. View menu, view menu. Exactly the same. Perfect. So far, so good. Oh, we got the fun part to come. Fun part's up ahead. All right. Let's bring it back here. Again, this will be on a spring coming from down below. So this will actually be a two-parter as well. We're going to duplicate this. This is the end state. The previous state is going to be with this snudged down below. So what's going to happen is it's going to say, perfect, what would you like? It's going to move up into position to allow this thing to animate in. This thing is going to be hidden down below. It needs to be beneath the keyboard. Get this problem again. Beneath the keyboard. I'm going to make sure that it's similarly spaced. So the animation looks similar to these other guys when they're hidden underneath. What we have here, this guy here. Okay. So it looks like I might have just done tens there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Or just use Y. It's 393. This guy here. 393. Okay, 393 again. Golden. So this guy's underneath. It's going to bounce up. By bounce, I mean we're going to take this animation. Again, take a look at it. Go this one because it comes from nothing to showing. Spring. So 700.47 on the spring. We'll play with the friction on that as well if we'd like. We're just not going to do that yet. I think it's probably close enough for the government work, as they say. This one again, it's going to move from here to here. It's going to do it automatically. We're going to insert a delay. We're just not going to do that V1. Well, first thing. No auto. Auto. Get rid of the tab. So auto animation from here. This will be an auto animation as well. And then on this auto animation, we have this button, view menu button. Here on the spring, 747. Right, so this is not going to look perfect, but it's going to should contain all the steps we want. So we'll do that. So order for delivery, boom, and actually, boom, what would you like? Oh, it came from on top. On this layer, or on this artboard, it's still not beneath the keyboard. Let's go back to the start. Delivery. There we go. Looks so good. More time. Boom. Order for delivery. I'm useful to have a little bit more delay before this thing pops up. Sure, perfect. What would you like? And then give you the option. So let's see. Perfect. What would you like? And then the animation here starts. So we're gonna have this start like we did before after 1 second. There we go. That's your 1 second mark. That way it mirrors what we have here at the start, right? I like to place an order. Sure thing. 1 second later. Mash the button. Sure thing. What would you like? Boom. Makes me so happy. I'm going to save another iteration right here. Looking good, looking good. All right, now the fun part begins. So we've done effectively one type of interaction here, one type of prototype. Normally, this is where I would draw the line. I'd make the cut and say, okay, we're showing one type of interaction here. Let's show this to the team or what have you. For the next type, I'd probably make a different prototype, but I'd demonstrate that to them. For this example, I'm trying to create a video where it's comprehensive. What I could still do is, because this final screen here is non-animated, I could make a cut here, make a separate prototype, and then just sort of video edit the two exports together. Here's prototype 1, there's prototype 2, and then done in video, you merge them together. I'm going to put them together in the same thing here. We'll see if that's a huge mistake, or if it works famously. We'll see. Some more water. I hope this running commentary is helpful. Let's see here. So for view menu, this is where things get weird. Bring this guy back up. Well, effectively, yeah, I'll bring the other guy back up that we can see the interaction again. So we have a button that's sitting on the page, very much like we have this view menu button here. The view menu button, or this button, when you tap on it, superimposed gets an overlay shape that animates into this menu here. And it's really hard to, it's really hard to give language to this. I think the best thing to do would be able to show you in slow motion. Well, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make another video like I did from the other one. So I'm just going to record with touch cursor, just like I recorded the other one, and say, see the options. And then it pops up with this, and then I can scroll the menu here, right, get a sticky header, bring it back to the bottom, and then say cancel. Right. So I have this, I'm going to drop it there, and then I'm going to pop it up real quick. All right, so here, if you want to move forward, when you tap on this, you see how the button graphic gets replaced with a dynamically drawn button shape. It's a rounded rectangle that grows from the small size to the size of the container here. So it makes that seamless, like smooth transition between the 2 points. The other thing that happens here is this border, which is solid blue, fades out. So you see the blue border fading out gently until you get to this point. So it gets to its full width, and then it also animates its full height into place. And then it fades content in. So again, that's what we're going to try to replicate now. This took me a while last time I did it, so this is not going to be as straightforward as the previous prototype. It'll be a lot more guess and check, a lot more exploration. But it should be fun. All right. So let's see, view menu. So the next one is going to be effectively, the next one is going to be a flat image of this, which again is going to scale back and blur. So right, you mash the button and watch this image here. It's going to start moving back. Oh, sorry, I did it too fast. It's going to start moving, here we go, sliding back into this blurred version of itself. Right? So we need to have a flat mock-up to drop there. So when you mash on this, immediately it swaps it out with the flat version, and that gets scaled. So that'll be our next step. So duplicate this. And it looks lovely, but it's going to wait to be replaced with a flat version. I can't remember if I exported an artboard with that or not. I know I did this blurred version of it, which I'm going to have it fade into, but I don't know if I have. Let's see here. think I might have to go export one. All right, it's easy enough. Before I do that, move this to a different screen. That way, it don't cover up. Okay, so this artboard here, background color included, exported at 2x. Click and drag this one over here. Right, so 2 artboards. I can take this content. I'm actually going to group it right now. Make deleting a little bit easier. Drop this onto it. It should look the same. Question is whether or not we get the rounding right between the two of them. I'm just going to set this up real quick and dirty. Hang on a second. Like, yeah, if you click over here, you see the difference on this artboard. So things jump just slightly. Here, this needs to be scooched down by like 0.5 pixels. That, I think. Yeah. That content jiggles a little bit. I think we're going to be fine for the purposes of this, because the second you mash on it, it's going to start moving backwards, so your eye's not going to be able to notice the finer details like this, like you normally would. We'll test that theory. And if needed, I'm just going to go back. There seems to be some discrepancies in the way things are laid out here in the prototype versus how they were built in Sketch. So instead of going through and modifying this, that would mean I'd have to modify all the previous states of it for me to make it consistent without any drift. It'd be much easier for me just to make the modifications, to basically modify the Sketch version to look more like the version here. But again, I'm not too concerned about that just yet. This is off by 4 pixels. Yeah, that menu looks a lot better now. Okay. So, it's going to pop to this, and then this is immediately going to start shrinking down. So we grab this, we duplicate that. I got this group in the background of both of these I no longer want. So this will be shrunk down, something like that. Play with it. The background color here needs to be black. And then this needs to fade out completely because it's going to fade into a blurred version of itself. Again, we might replace that with the video version later. So now if we set up a quick right tap, this guy. So I tap, it's going to pop to this. We should immediately automatically transition to that. So set that transition. Auto to here. I think there's going to be an animation here I don't want. This guy here, tap. So this guy. No, because the layers are named the same thing, so it should just automatically do it. This should work. Hang on, fill, artboard fill. So I need to change this artboard fill to be black as well, or else it's going to fade from white to black, which is not what I want. There we go. So this one now has a black background. So we no longer have that animation happening in black. Okay. From here. Okay, so it's not as instantaneous as I would like. The pause, and then it does it. Not good enough. Okay, so why is that the pause? Oh, because it's moving with a pause. The transition then. Here, view menu, bingo. That's what we want. View menu, bingo. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so when it starts doing that, we need to superimpose over the top a rectangle. I think I might have used 2 rectangles before, because I'm not sure. I think I used a previous version of Principle that didn't allow for a stroke. Now you're allowed to use a stroke, so I think that's what happened before. Okay, so this animating like that. Let's do the blur effect. Blur asset. Right, so we got this one here. Drop this on top. This is massive. This right here. And pass the wheel to this. So you can see what's going on. I'll rotate it on the scale. Try to position it so the blur pretty much looks pretty good over the top there. And I'm going to have it go from here to there, so it's going to shrink a similar amount. So this guy here, there. Well, I did that differently. I'm going to use scale to scale this guy down, as opposed to the technique that I used a second ago. So if I come back to here, I'm going to copy this, I'm going to drop it over here again. Then I'm going to scale it. Oh, I did that way wrong. My bad. 30.4. Arrow keys on this are a bit touchy. What is that? Let's put this. So it goes from a scale of 0.5 to a scale of 0.4 to 0.4, right? So 0.5 to 0.4, right? So it scales down like that. That makes it easy for us to do the same thing with this layer, which I'm dropping here on top. So it now goes to 0.4 as well, right? So it keeps the animation a little bit smoother. Okay, so this starts off invisible. So this, this layer here, copy opacity is at 0, and then it animates to 100%. Right, so there's a blurred version in the background. I think 0.4 might be wrong, but the point is now we can massage the exact animation, or the exact size of both layers using the same value instead of trying to eyeball it, which is nice. Okay, so if we come back to here and say View Menu, hey, that looks realistic. There you go. Which again, to pop back to this guy here, right, it fades back. It looks like it fades back considerably less. So let me try approximating that a little bit better. So instead of 0.4, maybe we do 0.49. Not too big. 0.45. Let's try that. 0.45 on both of these layers. So back to here. There you go. It looks a lot closer, doesn't it? I'm liking it. It's like that McDonald's slogan. I'm liking it. Okay, murder that one off. Bring this one big. Okay, so we have the initial animation. Comes all the way up to this view menu point. View menu point, we have it when you mash on it. It makes the layer slide back, kind of blurs a little bit. That's the effect we want. We now want to superimpose a rounded rectangle over the top. It's going to grow to be the size of the menu, which we're going to be dealing with here in a minute. So I'm going to lock these two layers here, actually. These, layer 3 copy and layer 2. That way, I say lock. I think what you do here is hide. That way I can't accidentally select them and move them. And that's going to make things a little bit easier for me as I move forward here. So again, this is a real button. And when I mash on it, over the top is going to be a rectangle, which is going to animate between the state where, this is a real, this is the asset placed here, but it's going to animate between the state where the content is visible and the content is blurred. While that transition happens, there'll be a, it'll superimpose this rectangle, which will move up. So maybe that. Wrong layer, wrong artboard. Okay, just hold rectangle. There we go. A little bit weird that Principled drops your rectangle up in the upper corner as opposed to letting you draw it. I'm sure that there's a practical reason for that, but it can get in the way a little bit when you're trying to, I'm trying to make a new rectangle. If I push R, it'll zap it up to the corner. And sometimes I'll put it underneath content, which is annoying. If you're going to put it in the corner, you should at least put it on top of the other layers. Guys. So let's see, radius. Make up that radius. I think the radius is closer to 13, so like 23, but I'm not going to deal with that. You don't have to worry about that because it automatically keeps the radius smooth. reason I mention that is there are some other prototyping tools where if you crank the radius too high, it starts to make your corners concave, which is not the desired effect. So again, we're going to make the fill, or the stroke on this is going to be this color back here. So it's going to look like this, and we're going to have a stroke width of 1, and then it's going to have a fill of nothing. Right? So effectively, we've duplicated this content. This appears on top, and then this is the shape that's going to do all the growing. And actually, I am going to care about the corner radius because I don't want to be this big when anything animates large. So you need to figure out what that is. I'm just going to come back to here and cheat and figure out what it is I used on this shape. White button, corner radius 18, evidently. So like here, I could also go into sketch and gotten that number. There. So you shouldn't notice a difference here until the shape starts to grow, right? So it stays the same corner radius even as it animates, which is nice. Hooray, hooray. So this thing here, we're going to call this something like menu rounded rectangle. So there's only, what was it? There's only, what was the joke? There's a joke about computer science, and there's only one thing difficult about computer science: naming things and off by 1 errors. So we got this menu rounded rectangle here, comes over here. And again, sitting on top of a blurred thing, we've hidden it from this artboard, that way I don't accidentally select it. And then this thing is going to grow to be full width. I think the way we did it was a 2-step, so it grew to be full width and then to be full height. I think I just make the shape the size I want, and then I offset the animation during the transition. So I'm going to take the stroke and make it white, so you should see the stroke fade between step 1 and step 2. I'm also going to exaggerate the length of this transition, that way I can see what's happening a little bit better, I think. How long is this? 0.3. Grab all these endpoints. Again, that little trick is select the start and end points just by clicking and dragging here. Huge time saver. I want these things to both take 2 seconds, so that way I can see the transition a little bit cleaner. Which I'll take back to 0.3 seconds after the fact. So view menu, you should see. Ah, so beautiful. I'm about to propose marriage to this thing. I love it so much. Look at that. Okay. I think that's effectively what we need right now. I'm going to drop this back to 0.3 because I can see that the border radius was in fact transitioning between blue and white. I'm happy they have that feature now. That was kind of a pain in the ass before, so this is very convenient. Some more of that sweet, sweet life juice. People on Twitter. So on Twitter, on FaceSpace. All right. So I got that there. So basically this thing animates open, and then we're going to have content appear on top of it, or in it, depending on how you want to think about it. So let's see here. I'm going to save that business. And I'm also going to play with the timing of this a little bit more. So view menu, yeah, that's about right, actually. View menu, it just slides right up. Great. I think this, let's see. Now let's go back to the video version of it, because I can do this slower. It moves to the side, and then moves up like that. So, okay. So the duration, if you watch the background here and you watch the menu as it appears, the duration for the two of them are identical. So I mashed on this button here, boom, and you see this thing's animating while the background's animating, and then this thing gets to the edge first, and then it grows taller, all the while the thing in the background's still going. Right, so they finish at the same time. So that's a clue for us. So now we know something about what this animation is going to look like. For those who might just be joining, this is an animation prototype that I did previously with a different example. This is meant for internal use only. This is using Kale crates, which is an example used by some of the folks at Recurly. This is something we're working on to be more outward facing, so we don't want to use a Recurly example here. And we want to kind of combine this other prototype we have here where these options will pop in and then bring up the menu as a part of the same video, as part of the same animation. So there we are. Okay, so this thing pops up. And then let's bring in some of the content that's going to appear here. But I'm going to do this. So chat's, oh, we don't even need this. That's right, we have a close button that appears at the bottom. Business is centered. I want to figure out how it's positioned in Sketch. So how far away from the bottom edge is it ultimately? So an artboard edge, 19 pixels, and then 19 from the top. All right. Come back in here. This is what it's going to look like. It's pretty exciting. Okay. Here, close, all of a sudden, that's right, I was in spacing it. So do this, go 1, 2, down 1. And then the ultimate size in capital letters, for this guy is going to be this, 1, 2, down 1. Right? So we have this shape over here. We can play with the height, but we know the bottom anchor point will be right there. The top edge, we might massage a little bit, right? Maybe taller, maybe shorter, whatever. In Sketch, what I chose for the height of this is, I didn't group it, did I? The initial height, I group it, was about 367. I don't think there's any particularly good reason for 367. I think there's no particularly bad one either. So we're now for 371. So if I go reduce this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, sorry, 4. Shorten the height by 4. I move this down 4. Right. Oh, that's the width. Let's do that. I can learn how to read. What did we say it was? 367? 367, yeah. Oh, hang on. So 365 is going to be very, 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 very large here. Comes up to about that far from the top. I guess that's how big it is. It's just an optical illusion. This is the artboard. There's only this much empty space here on top. For anyone curious as to why the menu is anchored down here, it's done out of an ergonomic consideration, so that when your thumb is sitting here in this sort of corner, if you're right-handed, I guess it's basically the same idea if you're left-handed, your thumb has only so much reach. You can tap on this button here, the menu will appear, and all the options of the menu are going to be within thumb's reach. So I can reach the highest option on the menu without having to stretch all the way up to the top of the screen, which is annoying. So yeah, this is a menu built out of a desire to try to solve that problem. Let's just go back here. So yeah, apparently this is as big as it is.